Hello and welcome to Indus News live from Islamabad. I am Muneeb Harmith with the news of this hour. Let's begin with the headlines first. In Indonesia, the military has confirmed the death of 53 crew on board a missing submarine, which has now been found cracked apart on the seafloor of the Bali waters. It said the submarine, which went missing on Wednesday, was broken into at least 3 parts. The cause of the incident is yet to be ascertained. India has recorded the world's highest daily coronavirus cases for the 4th consecutive day. The country has reported nearly 350,000 new cases and over 2,000 deaths over the past 24 hours. In a radio address, Prime Minister Narendra Modi urged citizens to exercise caution, saying India is shaken by COVID-19 storm. Meanwhile, Pakistan has registered 118 fatalities and over 5,600 infections overnight. Globally, the new coronavirus has claimed close to 3.1 million people, while infecting over 146 million others. In Iraq's capital, Baghdad, the death toll from a fire at a hospital for COVID-19 patients has risen to 82. The Interior Ministry says more than 100 people have been injured in the blaze at the Ibn Khatib hospital. Reports say an accident caused the oxygen tanks to explode, sparking the blaze. Armenia's Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan has resigned in order to hold early parliamentary elections in the republic. In a televised address, Pashinyan announced plans to continue fulfilling his duties as the Prime Minister until the polls on 20th of June. Pashinyan was under pressure from military and civilians after losing a war with Azerbaijan over Nagorno-Karabakh last year. China has told the European Union to stop sowing discord in the South China Sea. Talking to media, a spokesperson for the Chinese mission to the European Union said security risks in the South China Sea mainly come from outside the region. This comes after EU's diplomatic service said Chinese vessels in the seas, Whitsun Reef, endangered regional peace and stability. And in cricket, Pakistan beat Zimbabwe by 24 runs at Harare to win the 3-match T20 Series 2-1. Hassan Ali took 4 wickets to restrict Zimbabwe to 141 runs. He was declared man of the match, while Mohammad Rizwan was named man of the series. And these were the top stories. News in detail after a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now let's have the news in detail. We'll start from Indonesia, where the military has confirmed the death of 53 crew on board a submarine which has now been found cracked apart on the seafloor of the Bali waters. The submarine, one of 5 in Indonesia's fleet, disappeared on Wednesday while taking part in a torpedo drill. According to the military, the submarine was broken into at least 3 parts. The cause of the incident is yet to be ascertained. Earlier, President Joko Widodo sent his condolences to the families of the victims. India has recorded the world's highest daily coronavirus cases for the 4th consecutive day. The country has reported nearly 350,000 new cases and over 2,000 deaths over the past 24 hours. While globally, the new coronavirus has claimed close to 3.1 million people, while infecting over 146 million others. More on the pandemic in this report.
The second wave of COVID-19 has hit India with a ferocity no other country has seen before. Pakistan has offered to provide relief support to India with ventilators, X-ray machines, protective gear, and other items. Pakistan's Foreign Office said the two countries can also explore ways to cooperate on mitigating the challenges posed by the pandemic. The U.S. says it is deeply concerned by the massive surge in India and will raise additional support to New Delhi and healthcare workers. In a radio address, Prime Minister Narendra Modi urged citizens to exercise caution, saying India is shaken by COVID-19 storm. This comes as oxygen's demand outpaces supply and people continue to die due to shortages, highlighting the crisis faced by the government.
They have no shame at all. Do you know how does a human being dies without oxygen? Have you seen a fish out of water? More than 20 patients have died here suffering just like that. Just like a fish out of water. This is unimaginable. A human being can't even see this sight. They have got no understanding or management.
In Europe, people are getting fed up with new and stricter restrictions. While Germany reported another 120 deaths and nearly 19,000 cases, hundreds took to the streets of Frankfurt denouncing the curfew. Over in the UK, 8 police officers got injured as they dispersed crowds during anti-lockdown protests in central London. The Metropolitan Police said they arrested 5 people for offences that include assault on officers. An estimated 10,000 people attended the protest against mask wearing, health passports, and vaccinations.
I'm here to stop the tyranny, genocide, control, for children's future, the poisoning from the vaccines, the shedding from the vaccines, which will from the people with the who's had the vaccines, to wake people up, to stand in my truth, and stop the corruption.
The situation in Brazil remains grim, as the country registered over 3,000 deaths and more than 71,000 new infections. To add to the misery, an industrial plant dedicated to oxygen packing in Brazil's northeastern region exploded, leaving 4 people injured. Hospitals in Brazil have run out of oxygen, and the federal government had to fly oxygen in tanks across the country.
Meanwhile, in Pakistan, 118 people have lost their lives to the coronavirus in the past 24 hours. The Health Ministry says the countrywide death tally has risen to 17,117. The ministry said more than 5,600 people tested positive for the virus overnight. It added more than 795,000 people have been infected so far, whereas nearly 690,000 people have recovered. There are almost 88,700 active cases in the country. Meanwhile, the government has allowed walk-in vaccination facility for citizens aged 60 and above. Pakistan has received 500,000 doses of Sinopharm vaccine from China, while 3 Boeing 777 planes will bring 1 million doses of the coronavirus vaccine today. Now, the death toll from a fire at a hospital for COVID-19 patients in Iraq's capital, Baghdad, has risen to 82. Prime Minister Mustafa al-Khatami has ordered an investigation as over 100 people were injured. In a statement, al-Khatami said such an incident is evidence of negligence. He said hospital's manager and the head of security and maintenance will be detained until those responsible are identified. The head of the Iraqi Civil Defense Unit says 90 people have been rescued from the fire in the Ibn Khatib hospital. Reports say an accident caused the oxygen tanks to explode, sparking the blaze. Moving on now, the United Nations Security Council has called on the international community to cooperate actively with Pakistan in the fight against terrorism. In a press statement, the Council said terrorism constitutes one of the most serious threats to international peace and security. The 15-member body strongly condemned the terrorist attack in Quetta that left 5 people dead. The members called for bringing the perpetrators to justice. They also expressed their deepest sympathy and condolences to the families of the victims and to the government of Pakistan. Pakistan's Special Envoy Mohammad Sadiq and Afghan Deputy Foreign Minister have discussed the peace process in Kabul. In a tweet, Pakistan's ambassador to Kabul, Mansoor Ahmad Khan, termed the talks constructive. He said Sadiq will also discuss security and related matters during his 2-day official visit. The Special Envoy will hold delegation-level talks with his Afghan counterpart, Umar Daudzai. Both sides will also discuss matters related to trade, including the new transit trade agreement. The visit comes after a Troika meeting between the foreign ministers of Pakistan, Turkey and Afghanistan in Istanbul. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi says Turkey's unshakable support for the Kashmir cause is encouraging for both Pakistanis and the Kashmiris. In a video message before leaving for Islamabad after his two-day visit to Turkey, Qureshi thanked Ankara for re-energizing the efforts for peace in Afghanistan. Qureshi added that he also had productive bilateral talks with his Turkish and Afghan counterparts. The foreign minister said the post-political settlement challenges of Afghanistan were also discussed in the meetings.
We held a trilateral meeting, and during the meeting, the current situation in Afghanistan, along with the peace process, the chances of post-conflict, restructuring and development, and economic integration were also discussed.
Now, Turkey says it has summoned the U.S. ambassador over President Joe Biden's declaration of the 1915 massacres of Armenians as genocide. In a statement, the foreign ministry said Biden's comments have no legal basis and Ankara condemns it in the strongest terms. It said Biden's statement had caused a wound in ties that will be hard to repair. Earlier, the foreign ministry urged the U.S. to correct its mistake. Biden is the first U.S. president to formally call mass killings of Armenians during the World War I as genocide. Turkey accepts many Armenians were killed in clashes with Ottoman forces during World War I, but in contests the figures and denies the killings were systematically orchestrated and constitute a genocide. Now, Armenia's Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan has resigned in order to hold early parliamentary elections in the Republic. Pashinyan was under pressure from the military and civilians after losing a war with Azerbaijan over the Nagorno-Karabakh last year. In a televised address, Pashinyan announced plans to continue fulfilling his duties as the Prime Minister until the polls on 20th of June. He said his civil contract party will run in the elections and he will contest as a candidate for Prime Minister. Pashinyan said he is returning power to citizens so they could decide the future of the government through free and fair elections. Now, an Israeli-annexed East al-Quds police have scuffled with Palestinians and tensions flared during the Muslim holiday of Ramadan. The Palestinian Red Crescent reported 6 protesters were injured in the clashes. Palestinians say police have tried to prevent them from holding their usual Ramadan evening gatherings. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu chaired an emergency security meeting over the matter with senior Israeli officials. The Prime Minister warned that Israel remains prepared for all scenarios. Unrest started after far-right Jews clashed with Palestinians calling for death to Arabs on Thursday. Hamas voiced support for the East Jerusalem protests after the incident. The protest spread to several cities in the West Bank and along the Israel-Gaza border. Iran has strongly condemned the Israeli aggression against the residents of the occupied Holy Quds. More news coming up after a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back now. Myanmar's shadow government of ousted lawmakers has welcomed a call by Southeast Asian leaders for an end to military violence. A parallel national unity government spokesperson said they are looking forward to firm action by ASEAN to follow up on its decisions. The EU has also supported ASEAN's commitment to start an inclusive dialogue to seek a peaceful solution. But people in Myanmar have criticized the deal, saying that it fell short of holding the army accountable for the killings. Over 700 people have been killed by security forces in Myanmar since the military seized power in February. Russia has accused the Ukrainian armed forces of shelling the so-called Donetsk People's Republic 9 times in the past 24 hours. The Joint Center on Ceasefire Control and Coordination's DPR mission said Ukraine fired over 90 shells during violations. Earlier, Russian warships blocked 3 points in the Black Sea to restrict the movement of foreign warships near Crimea. Warships positioned themselves near Sevastopol, executing the plan announced by Russia's defense ministry. The passage is expected to be closed until the 31st of October, but the ministry says it will not affect the navigation in the Kerch Strait. Now, China has told the European Union to stop sowing discord in the South China Sea. This comes after the EU said Chinese vessels in the South China Sea's Whitsun Reef endangered regional peace and stability. Talking to the media, the spokesperson for the Chinese mission to the European Union said security risks in the South China Sea mainly come from outside the region. The spokesperson said the region must not become a tool for certain countries to contain and suppress China. He termed the reef a part of China's Nansha Islands, adding Beijing's activities in the region are reasonable and lawful. The spokesperson urged the European Union to respect the efforts of regional stakeholders in maintaining stability in this sea. Now, in Japan, voting is underway for 3 vacant parliament seats, with outcomes likely to affect Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga's leadership status. The elections are the first national contest since Suga took office in September last year. 2 seats are up for grab in the upper house, while the third is in the lower house. Candidates from Suga's ruling coalition and those backed by the opposition are contesting the upper house seat. The lower house seat is being contested among opposition candidates after the ruling party pulled out. If the ruling coalition loses in the 2 elections, Suga's leadership in his Liberal Democratic Party could come into question. Moving on now, in Chad, rebels say they are prepared to observe ceasefire after the military said it bombarded them to the verge of despair. Earlier, rebels had vowed to advance on the capital N'Djamena following the funeral of President Idriss Déby, who died on the battlefield. In an interview, Front for Change and Concord in Chad's head said the ceasefire had to be observed by both sides. Mohammed Mahdi Ali said they cannot respect the truce unilaterally and let themselves be massacred. In response, military's council spokesperson said they are rebels, which is why the military is bombing them and waging war. Déby's son seized power after his father's death with an aim to oversee an 18-month transition to elections. But rebels said they do not accept any military government. In France, a facility trains ship captains and maritime pilots how to navigate the Suez Canal at a miniature replica of the Egyptian waterway. Details in this report.
The mariner nudges back on the power and makes a subtle adjustment while navigating his cargo vessel through a narrow point in the Suez Canal. Not the Egyptian one, but a replica in the middle of a French forest. The stretch of water was built to train ship captains and maritime pilots how to sail across the Suez Canal, a skill now in the spotlight after the Ever Given cargo ship got stuck in it last month amid high winds and a sandstorm. The channel is built to 1/25th the scale of the section of the real Egyptian waterway. Trainees have to steer through the scale models of massive container ships without getting stuck.
We are in the Port Rebel Suez Canal on a scale of 1/25. The specificity of this site is that the depth, the banks, the shape of the canal are exactly those of the actual historical canal before the 2015 expansion. That is in order to put trainees in very realistic conditions. We make them work in, let's say, normal conditions here, emergency situations where they lose a certain number of technical means or they have to deal with the most varied and complex problems we can put in place for them.
Located in the foothills of the Alps, the Port Revel facility is designed to replicate some of the trickiest spots in global shipping. Underwater turbines are also present to replicate currents and waves, while training instructors stimulate steering problems and engine outages to see how the trainees react.
The difficulties are the same like in the actual Suez Canal, except that the small differences might be that sandstorms are hard to simulate here. Otherwise, we have very powerful wind gushes that will take you and your ship to a side or another. We have temperatures that will have an impact on your system. And then, we have all the problems and technical issues that might come up. Like in your car, you can have a problem with your gearbox, an engine problem. All of this can happen on a ship as well.
Managers of the facility say that the recent incident of the Suez Canal's blockade may prompt shipping companies to send their staff for refresher courses.
Now, major Gulf markets are trading mixed today, with healthcare and petrochemical shares making a major impact. Saudi Arabia's benchmark index has gained marginally, with medical services rising close to 2%, while Saudi Cayenne Petrochemical jumped nearly 4.5%. The Abu Dhabi index also edged up, helped by 0.5% gain in telecom. In Dubai, the main share index eased fractionally due to a decrease in Emaar properties and Dubai investments. In Qatar, the benchmark lost marginally, with Commercial Bank falling nearly 1%. And now let's have a look at how the weather is doing around the world. And that is all for now. For the latest update, you can follow us on social media at Indus.News. Take care.